Want to dominate as Holy Paladin in Season 2 of The War Within? Well, this is the only guide you'll need. In the next 15 minutes, I'll break down everything you need to know in order to succeed in Season 2, including builds, rotation, and tips for both Mythic Plus and Raid. You'll find all the import codes for my builds along with my Notion page for my UI in the description below. While you're down there, if you're a Holy Paladin main or just looking forward to trying Holy Paladin this season, hit that like button. Holy Paladin is a very playable healing spec this season. Although we are not meta or high up on the tier list at the moment, have no fear. You can still play and enjoy Holy Paladin in all the content and be viable. You will only ever have a hard time if you are pushing for title or just really high-end Mythic Plus keys. Other than that, you are going to be completely fine. Now, let's talk about some strengths for Holy Paladin. We have extremely strong single target spot heals. We also bring a lot of utility, including some awesome external defenses and damage reduction for our group, with Aura Mastery giving us a 9% DR. We also have Battle Res, Sack, Bop. It's crazy. As a Holy Paladin, we also have a great kit of self-defensives, including our bubble, providing us with an immunity. When it comes to weaknesses though, we have a couple. We are very limited when it comes to AoE healing compared to other healers, and you really feel this in Mythic Plus. We are a more reactive healer rather than a proactive healer. Our spec also requires us to have good positioning to make sure we are hitting as many allies as possible with our Light of Dawns or our beams. For stats, we have slightly different priorities based on Mythic Plus and Raid. I would prioritize whichever content you consider your main. For Mythic Plus, you'll want to focus Haste, Crit, then Mastery. For Raid, you're going to want to focus Haste, Mastery, then Crit. Haste receives diminishing returns when approaching the 20k mark, so once you hit that, you're good to start focusing more on your second stat in your priority list. Our 2-piece this season gives our healing spells a chance to apply Insurance, which is a small heal over time that lasts 15 seconds. If someone with Insurance drops below 40% health, it is removed and will instantly heal them for an amount. For our 4-piece, Divine Toll will apply Insurance to allies for 8 seconds. And its cooldown will be reduced by 1 second every time you spend Holy Power. I find this tier set to be fairly decent. It doesn't change our playstyle up a ton, but does make one of our cooldowns a little bit stronger and allows us to get it more frequently, which is a nice help to our weak AoE healing output. This season we'll be playing Herald of the Sun due to some nerfs Lightsmith has received during the off season. It's basically just not very good anymore. The key talents that make up Herald is Dawnlight, which is a hot or dot depending on how you spend your Holy Power. You receive 2 charges after using Holy Prism. Eternal Flame will replace Word of Glory and add a heal over time effect to it. Aurora makes your next Holy Power spending ability free and increase its healing and damage. Sun's Avatar is the capstone, which makes your Avenging Wrath, aka your wings, send out 4 Dawnlights to nearby allies, and links you to any target with a Dawnlight on them, healing or damaging them every second. Allies or enemies that are standing in a beam will also be healed or take damage. Now, here's our raid build, and there are a few key talents on our class tree to call attention to that are important for Holy Paladin in both of our builds. The big 3 in the middle being Divine Toll, Blessing of Sacrifice, and Blessing of Protection. At the bottom for raid only, our Capstone Lightbearer, which converts 10% healing done to you onto nearby allies. In raid, this is a great free little heals anytime a healer heals you. Then, an important call out for both builds is of Dusk and Dawn. Every 3rd Holy Power generator you cast makes your next Holy Power spender deal 10% more damage or healing. Consuming Dawn then triggers Dusk, which reduces damage taken by 4% and reduces the cooldown of Holy Power generators by 10% for 10 seconds. In Raid on the spec tree, the key notes are you are picking up all of the talents that increase Light of Dawn's healing and running double beacons. The key talents in the Holy Paladin build though for both Raid and Mythic Plus are Holy Prism, Divine Favor, Avenging Wrath, and Awakening. Holy Prism is an AoE healing when cast on an enemy or AoE damage when cast on an ally. It also triggers our Dawnlight from our hero talents, giving us those 2 charges. The follow-up Divine Favor reduces the mana cost and cast time of Holy Light and Flash of Light. Avenging Wrath triggers our hero talent Capstone, Sun's Avatar. This ability is also known as Wings and is our major damage, healing, and crit buff. It's a cooldown on a 2-minute timer. Awakening causes your holy spenders to give you stacks of awakening. At 15 stacks, your next judgment grants you 12 seconds of wings. We'll talk about how best to play around this during the rotation portion. Here's our Mythic Plus build. There are no major callouts on the class tree that impact our gameplay. On our spec tree though, you'll drop all that Light of Dawn healing because you'll never cast it really in Mythic Plus for cooldown reduction of major abilities, damage increases, and damage abilities, giving us free holy power spenders. The only major gameplay call out here is swapping double beacon for Beacon of Virtue, which is our best AoE healing ability. When it comes to healing, there isn't necessarily a rotation, but there is a priority in which you should use your abilities in order to deliver big heals. First up is using Holy Prism on an enemy, since this triggers our 2 stacks of Dawn Light. It's also a small AoE heal and also will buff your next holy power spenders. And of course, also give you Divine Favor. Your best healing abilities are your holy power spenders, Eternal Flame for big spot heals, and Light of Dawn in raid only for AoE healing. Light of Dawn is terrible in Mythic Plus because no one has ever stacked enough, and we do not take the talents to buff it due to that. You will mostly use Eternal Flame in raid as well to just deliver massive spot heals. You ideally want to avoid overhealing with it though, and if you're going to overheal, use Light of Dawn to heal instead. With Light of Dawn in your raid, you'll want to build up 9 stacks of our talent Unending Light, which makes it heal for 45% more before using it to do a nice big juicy heal. When it comes to holy power, you want to ideally live above 3 holy power and spend one at 5 holy power. It's not terrible to empty holy power quickly, but you can put yourself in a pickle if you don't have any way of generating holy power, or if you just need massive big heals. You're kind of out of it if you don't have any of your buffs rolling, and your holy power tank is on E. Next up is using Holy Light, ideally with Divine Favor, which comes from casting Holy Prism, and your passive Infusion of Light, which increases the healing of Holy Light and Flash of Light. These buff Holy Light to the max. You can always use Holy Light with just an Infusion of Light though. Holy Shock is our only healing holy power generator, and you'll want to use this for a quick spot heal and try to keep it on cooldown. Last up is Flash of Light, our quick spot heal, and don't be shy about using your Infusions of Light with it to give it a nice little extra buff. With healing, it's all about just trying not to overheal so you don't burn through your mana, and using the correct heal for the correct situation. In most cases, it's going to be spending holy power and using your cooldowns. Holy Light is a massive heal, and Flash of Light is a great little spot heal as long as they're buffed. Without the buffs, they're just okay. When it comes to damage, it's just a priority list. You're going to want to keep Consecration down, use Shield of Righteous if you're at 5 holy power and don't have anyone to heal, Holy Prism on an ally in AoE fights to deal AoE damage, or on an enemy in single target to deal prio damage, and of course, heal your group a little bit. Next is Holy Shock if you don't need to use it on anyone to heal, followed by Judgment, and then Hammer of Wrath if it's available. Then you'll want to use Crusader Strike. For our beacons, it's quite simple. In raid, you'll want to place both beacons on squishy ranged targets, helping keeping them alive, and allows you to tap into your mastery for all range raid members. Beacon of Virtue is the best way to AoE heal in Mythic Plus. It also provides a small damage reduction, so make sure to always cast it before AoE damage goes out, and to use it every time you need to deliver group healing. With Holy, you always want to be using your best generators to generate holy power and your best spenders for the given state, whether that's healing or dealing damage. As long as you're always casting an ability and not wasting a GCD, you're off to a good start of playing Holy Paladin optimally. Let's talk about our cooldowns and when best to use them, and give you some tips along the way. Divine Toll should be almost used on cooldown and should be used to do group healing if needed. If not, use it to deal damage. This ability does buff your next 4 holy shocks to double cast, making them generate 3 holy power. Be cautious of wasting holy power with this. You don't want to be at 4 holy shock and then waste those 2 free extra holy power. Avenging Wrath is a big healing and damage window for us, so it's important to use it optimally, whether that's using the ability or proccing it from Awakening. You want to always line up Avenging Wrath with Holy Prism so that you can get our max of 6 beams by casting out the 2 additional Dawn Lights onto targets. Holy Prism grants you Divine Purpose, which makes your next Holy Power spender free. So always enter wings with at least 3 Holy Power so that you can cast 2 Eternal Flames immediately to hit max beams. This goes for Awakening as well when you hit 15 stacks and can proc wings with your next Judgment. Make sure you have Holy Prism off cooldown and you have at least 2 Holy Power before procking Awakening. Here's a little example of how to proc Awakening and use your Holy Prism to get the max beams with Awakening. You will Judgment, Holy Prism, Eternal Flame, and then go back to your normal prio. With Awakening, you only need to make sure to have the 2 Holy Power because Judgment is going to grant you that 3rd one you need. Since our beams heal and deal damage to anything intersecting them, it makes your positioning very, very important. Make sure to maximize the amount of targets being hit by your beams. Now enough of all that beam talk. Lay on Hands is a massive heal that you have in your back pocket for those little shit moments, or a Mastery is a group-wide damage reduction. In a coordinated raid group, you will be assigned when to use this. Otherwise, you want to use this before the damage goes out. Never use this while the damage is actively happening. It's not worth the GCD, and it's not going to save your group or your allies. You're better off just healing. Blessing of Sacrifice is a great ability to use to help your tank or party member who's about to take a lot of damage. You'll take some of this damage in return, but it does greatly reduce the amount of damage they take. If you're new to Blessing of Sacrifice, just make sure to be using it on cooldown. You can throw it on the tank and that's good enough. Blessing of Protection is great to give yourself or an ally because it is a physical damage and harmful effects immunity. This is especially awesome in this season to remove the bleeds in dungeons like Priory. You can also use it on the first boss in Priory when he leaps to a target and stuns them to instantly end that ability. Divine Shield, aka our bubble, is our own personal immunity to save yourself in any situation. In Mythic Plus, this is basically a healing cooldown for yourself. For 5 seconds, you remove 20% of the healing from the group by not needing to heal yourself. So keep that in mind. Divine Protection is our short 20% damage reduction. Blessing of Summer is a fun one, so we're going to break it down by each season and keep it as simple as possible. Summer, cast it on a healer in raid when you want to deal damage. It can even be yourself, or cast it on a DPS when you want to heal. In Mythic Plus, you can cast this on yourself with a combo of Avenging Wrath and Divine Toll. If you want to heal, put it on a non-pet DPS spec who's about to pop off for the next 30 seconds. Autumn, we'll keep it simple. It's a cooldown reduction. Use it on yourself. If you want to spread the love, use it on a class after they just use their cooldowns. Like a Fire Mage, for example, who has a ton of them. Winter is a mana regen. Again, you will mainly use this on yourself, or if you want to share the love, a healer in your raid that needs mana. Spring provides a 15% buff to healing and a 30% buff to healing taken. This should ideally be used on a healer that will be doing the most healing over that 30-second duration. So whoever's using your cooldowns in raid, but if you're in Mythic Plus, use it on yourself. In Mythic Plus, you can basically just use them all on yourself if you don't want to worry about it, but Summer is really the only one you want to use on a DPS to get the healing. Now, in conclusion, the 3 main takeaways should be always be casting and using your cooldowns. Use your cooldowns and hold them for the situations you need them for, because remember, your cooldowns can heal and deal damage. So make sure you're using them appropriately and you're not screwing yourself by dealing damage with them. And then of course, you need them to heal, and then they're on cooldown. You are a strong single target spot healer. Keep that in mind and try to set yourself up for success when reacting to group-wide damage. Use those holy spenders to boost someone's health up immediately, and then use some of those holy light and flash of lights buffed up for that quick little spot healing on people that don't need as much healing. And lastly, pay attention to your positioning when wings is up, or you're in raid and you're casting Light of Dawns. And don't forget to make sure to align Holy Prism with Awakening and wings to max those beams, baby. And if you enjoyed this guide or have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And you can also join my Discord in the description and ask me there. I'll be releasing more guides, tips, and tricks content, and of course the highly anticipated premiere of 0 to Legendary, where I pug a spec I've never played before from 0 to 3K. And in that case, you should make sure you punch that like button, kiss that subscribe button, and tickle my divine toll so you don't miss a single thing coming out on the channel. And with all that, I'll see you next time.